Second video of the day, folks. Well, I have some great news for some of you. Some of you already know this. Those of you who don't, here's the news. Batwoman has been cancelled. Oy vey. Oy vey. And no one cares, really. This show was terrible. It's been around for 3 years, though. 3 years. Everybody likes to say, oh, it was around for 3 seasons. 3 seasons is 3 years, okay? Because they do 1 season a year nowadays with a lot of these shows. And they stretch out the episodes throughout an entire season, which is basically a year almost. This is ridiculous. This show was based on a comic book character created by DC to be a love interest for Batman back in the late 50s. Why? Because people were starting to question why Batman was always running around with a teenage boy. And didn't seem to have any love interest, So in other words, Batwoman was originally created to combat the idea that Batman might be a homosexual. Wow. Especially considering that after being around on and off for decades, the character actually got her own comic in 2011 and had been revamped and revealed in the first issue as a lesbian. And that caused a lot of consternation amongst some folks, and the comic was able to stay around for about a year. Now, the claim by the 2 writers of the comic was that, there were creative differences between them and DC, and so they decided they weren't coming back to the comic. But I'm pretty sure if you check the sales from issue 1 on out, the reality is there, and it's pretty ugly that nobody liked the comic after she came out. And nobody really wanted to read it. Now, I will say that the character in the comics was at least pretty decent, but I didn't read very much of her. Since the 2012 cancellation of the comic, the character has appeared here and there throughout different comics in the DC comic universe. In 2019, October of 2019 to be specific, they decided to launch a show called Batwoman, starring a woman who was quite literally a lesbian. She wasn't just an actor playing a lesbian character. Ruby Rose was a lesbian herself. Okay, cool. That made the show a little more woke and had people loving the show for at least 3 episodes until the ratings dropped off. The ratings were for the first 3 to 5 episodes, I'd say at least nearly 1 million or more. After episode 5, we're talking 600,000, 400,000, 500,000, 300,000. Even the most woke critics, when it came down to this show, fellow women and lesbians, were saying that the show was terrible. The writing was terrible, the sets were terrible, the acting was terrible. After the first season was done, Ruby Rose quit, mainly due to not really creative differences, but the fact that she had been severely injured on 2 occasions doing stunts on the show. And it got so bad for her that she couldn't feel her left or right arm. And the doctor said, well, we need to do emergency neck surgery and back surgery, else you're going to end up crippled for the rest of your life, paraplegic, paralyzed. So they went ahead and went with the surgery. She comes out doing okay. And DC and CW wanted her to get right back into it. And she was like, nah, I'm done. I'm done. I can't work 60-hour weeks anymore. And I've been busted up enough for this show. I'm leaving. Now, honestly, I'll just say straight out. She probably left because she saw that the show was a sinking ship. So there's no use in staying on a show that is a sinking ship and ruining your career. Because that's what happens when you stick with a bad show. After a while, it frames your career and nobody wants anything to do with you. So season 2 comes out. They replace Ruby Rose with a black woman that had a short stint in the show as the love interest of the main character, Batwoman. And now she's wearing the costume. People were even less enthused with this. So now Batwoman is black and still a lesbian. Whoop-de-doo. No one cared. Just no one really cared. The show was still bad. The writing was still bad. The sets were even worse. And to make matters even worse, the woman who played the new black Batwoman was actually shorter than Ruby Rose. So we're already having to have a sense of, dispel our sense of disbelief that a 5'7", 5'8" woman can beat up guys 6'3". Now we're going to believe a 5'5", 5'4" woman can do the same just because she puts on a costume that's basically borrowed from another chick who borrowed it from her cousin in show and decided she was just going to take up where he left off. No, that's not going to work. Not going to work. Second season was even worse ratings-wise. And once again, no one really cared what kept this show going, even though the second season's ratings were even worse and viewership was even worse. Basically, the woke folk. You had all of these woke folks and people in the LGBT community claiming that, oh, this show is our boon. This show is what we've needed for so long. Thank you so much. Please keep the show going. When technically you already had something similar going on in Supergirl, where Supergirl's adopted sister was a lesbian, and later on they added a transgender alien girl. So, what's the problem? Why would you even need Batgirl? Batwoman. You've already got everything you need in Supergirl. Well, Supergirl got canceled last year too, so what does that tell you? Oh man, what does that effing tell you? So, basically the announcement was made a few days ago that Batwoman was canceled. There wouldn't be a season 4. Yeah, they made it into season 3. A total of 3 years of this bad show, kept alive by either stubbornness in the CW, belief that somehow the show would just get better, or what. I really don't freaking know. It's a mystery, but it's still a terrible show. Nobody liked it. All the wokeness in the world isn't going to save this show. And then on top of that, there's rumors that the CW network is about to be sold to somebody else. So what we're looking at is that most likely they got rid of the show so that they can raise their stock, so that when this television network system gets sold to somebody else, if it gets sold to somebody else, they don't have a lot of shitty baggage. So now there are several other shows that are sort of CW and DCU adjacent. The Flash, and another show called Naomi, Stargirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow has already been announced to be canceled. There won't be another season of that show. That show was actually pretty damn decent. And its ratings are pretty damn good. The Flash may hold out for a season 9, maybe even a season 10, because it's generally well received. But as Razorfist said in another video, it appears this may be the end of the sort of comic book era with as far as television shows goes. Now, there is one more show I almost forgot to mention, and that is the newest Superman show called Superman and Lois, which is getting a lot of praise and a lot of good ratings. So it will probably hang around even if the CW gets sold or bought, however you wish to put it. Hopefully it does, because I do like a Superman and Lois. I've been watching the episodes. It's great. The Flash, I've enjoyed the show up until really the last 2 seasons. I'm kind of like, this is getting lame. They need to do better. Legends of Tomorrow, I watched it almost religiously up until about season 4, and then I just kind of forgot about it. I was like, I'll come back to it later. Haven't got back to it yet, but I think that show's okay too, but okay isn't enough. Not ratings-wise anyway. So, at the end of the day, Batwoman is canceled. I shed no tears for such a sorry-ass show. And hopefully we'll be moving on, and hopefully things will get better over time. I think maybe it is about time for the comic book television shows to kind of fade into the background, and we move on, and we get back to making good television shows on TV somewhere, somehow. I don't know. Well, that's about it for this video. Hopefully I will be live streaming at some point. I'm trying to figure this thing out so I can live stream with YouTube and Intro Fee and see how it all works. All right, folks. Take care. Have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. This is Shatterhand of the Naked Truth, signing off. Bye-bye.